Hello and welcome to another episode of the Course in Miracles inspired podcast, May the Course Be With You, where I, Leon Joel Russell, get to speak to the people that I love about the system that we love. Guys, how are you?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to this conversation.
Yeah, it's an absolute given, to be fair, because you both gave me the permission to watch and listen in on the two recordings you'd made with each other, which was a lovely insight into your relationship and your love and your friendship, and felt very honoured to have that window into what you mean to one another. It was very beautiful. So thank you for that. And we're going to do something a little bit different that we haven't done on May the Course Be With You before. We're going to start with a beautiful prayer from A Course in Miracles so that we can combine our energies ready for this lovely joining that we're going to experience together. So if you guys are comfortable closing your eyes and everybody joining, watching with us, please feel free to close your eyes too. A short passage from the Course, which is as beautiful as every other bit of the Course. Our Father, bless our eyes today. We are your messengers, and we would look upon the glorious reflection of your love, which shines in everything. We live and move in you alone. We're not separate from your eternal life. There is no death, for death is not your will. And we abide where you have placed us, in the life we share with you and with all living things, to be like you and part of you forever. We accept your thoughts as ours, and our will is one with yours eternally. So I'd like to gently invite you to bring your conscious awareness back into the moment together that we're going to share. And Sarah, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about how you come to know this beautiful friend of yours, Lottie.
Thank you, Leon. Well, I think we probably first crossed paths in person at at a retreat Kieran J ran. She runs them regularly for the Stanway group. So I think it's probably where we met in person, but I had also already met her at Kieran J study groups and probably Miracle Network events. So she was a familiar face. And we've since been to several of those retreats. What happened during the last day, I did hear Lottie talk about the logistics issues she had with trains and how she was going to have to go from Stanway across London and then get a train up.
Stanmore.
Stanmore, thank you. The Stanmore group. And I figured out from that where she lived was on the train line from Hitchin, which is near to where I live. So I live in southwest of Cambridge, and she lives northwest of Cambridge. It's sort of the same train line. So that's really how our friendship really deepened, because an hour in the car gave us a lot more time to talk in detail. You don't really have that opportunity in the retreats. And since then, we travelled there and back together for several more of Kieran J's retreats.
Mm.
And then when the festival came up, the Course in Miracles UK festival came up, we figured out that it would be more viable for us to share an Airbnb place nearby. So I found a place and we booked it. And that's how I also came to know early on about Lottie's diagnosis.
Mm. And Lottie, was Sarah one of the first people outside of the family unit to hear of the diagnosis?
Not sure. I don't keep a record in my mind of who heard first.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kieran J was fairly near the top of the list.
Mm.
No, I couldn't tell you who heard first.
Okay. Was there a sense that it was something that you wanted to share with certain people, or is it something that you were going to work with yourself at first? Or?
Well, not at all did I want to go and say, oh, poor me, I've got this dreadful diagnosis. And they say I've got 6 weeks to 6 months to live. And I was surprised, but I wasn't shocked by that news. And you tend to share shocking things more, don't you? So, yes, I told the wider family because I wanted them to get first dibs with clearing my house. And yes, it just sort of happened naturally. It wasn't a big thing. It didn't feel like a big thing to me. It's just, oh, that's my exit strategy, is it?
How did it change the landscape for you, Sarah, when you realised that you'd be experiencing the festival in person and Lottie would be an online participant?
I didn't even think she'd be an online participant, actually, because the diagnosis was from 6 weeks. And when she told me, because she told me just really for practical reasons that we had a booking, and she told me she'd rather not spread the news too widely, because I think there was another retreat that Lottie was attending. Just didn't want to have the attention or it to be, emphasized too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, my initial response was very human, and I think this is a very Western mindset that we somehow deny death, human death. We deny it, and then we're all shocked when something happens to someone that we know. It's like, how can this be happening? And I felt immediate, like tearful and crying and grasping, like no denial. But this was in the course of the conversation. I could hear from Lottie, she was so grounded about it, and that she saw some positive aspects to it, and I don't know, very matter of fact, really. So I didn't even expect her to be at the festival, but the arrangement was that she had a library of Course in Miracles books, which she'd like to share and perhaps raise funds for the Miracle Network or the festival funding. So the arrangement was that I would pick the books up in advance of the festival. So it just felt, I did initially feel sadness, and sadness still comes, because whatever you say, Lottie, you're still a person in this life, and you will be missed.
And how important, there's nothing invalidating in the Course. The Course isn't about bypassing any of this stuff. It's about looking at it clearly, and allowing every presentation to come into focus, because we're being taught to not live unconsciously. We're being taught to be brought into the present moment, and in the present moment we're told that's where salvation exists, in the now, not in the future, not in the past. And we're told that salvation is the closest approximation to eternity. And one of my friends, she uses the word freedom also as salvation, which I think is really, really helpful. So, if we've been living for decades, like most of us did, almost running on autopilot with an unconscious primary thought system running the show, which keeps us in fear and keeps our focus on the past or the future, the Course in Miracles exposes that thought system. It's just one perennial philosophy that exposes that thought system and says, this is what's happening. Here's an alternative way that you can move through life. It might work for you, it might not. The way to see if it's working is to ask yourself, do I feel more peaceful than I used to feel prior to doing this? And that's a good barometer as to whether or not you are experiencing the process of the forgiveness that the Course guides us through. But nowhere is there an interpretation where we don't look at what we're going through as a human being, in my opinion. We just have the understanding, like Jesus would have said, be in this world but not of this world, coupled with be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. I think it's very important to not try and suppress anything, just allow it, because as the lovely Keith Kavanagh says, it's the ego that resists the ego. So I think it's really important that you have those feelings, and then when they come in waves, they come in waves. It's just what seems to be presented at that moment. We're not trying to live a pristine demonstration of never being affected by what's going on. It's just that when we are affected, we go, oh, I'm being affected by that. And we have that distinction available to us, rather than just being consumed and unable to make a distinction. And then if we look at the Course saying there's no hierarchy to illusions, then it could be that we're presented with something which seems small or something which seems big, but there are no degrees. It's all just present or not present.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. What also sort of comes up for me is that the feelings are sort of self-centered. And I don't say that in a critical way of myself, but they are self-centered, because who's going to be upset? It's me. And of course, there's the others, physical suffering potentially of the physical illness as it progresses. But there's also like the what's in it for me attitude. So, I've got this lovely friend and she lives nearby and she's very grounded in the course. So it's sort of, you know, it's the loss of that,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
makes
and the loss
perfect
of this
sense.
person, you know, is so nice to me. Someone I can just drive up and have lunch with, and we can talk about course things. And someone who was really on the end of the phone for me last year when I was going through a big decision about my job change, you know, and we had lots of long talks as I went out walking. I had a sciatica condition, so
Mhm.
we spent a lot of time really her listening and giving her feedback on what I was going through physically. Ironically, what I was going through, my illness situation, and also this decision about whether or not I should retire from my professional role. Yeah.
And little did you know the tables
Uh,
would soon be turned.
yeah.
I'm retiring.
Yes.
Retiring from breathing.
Yeah.
So, Lottie, I'd like you to tell us about this dream that you've had, not the recurring dream, the other dream.
Right. Well, it came out of the blue. I can't say anything triggered it particularly, but I dreamt that I was in the presence of three beings, and I couldn't identify who they were. And we had conversation, and it felt very positive, and I felt very much part of it. But when I woke up, it was with regret, really, that I couldn't remember any of the conversation. But there was one little bit I remembered, and it was big, and it said, "Nothing really matters." And there was emphasis on the really. Nothing really matters. And I've shared that with a lot of people, and they take a step back and think and say, "Yeah, that's true." Yeah. So that was it.
Well, interesting, because my favourite bit out of the whole course isn't necessarily got any indication that there's anything spiritual about it, or it's got any language in it that would point to the way the course corrects the Christian terminology, and that is the line, "Recognize what does not matter." And the reason I find that so powerful is because in order to recognize what doesn't matter, you have to know what does matter. And as far as I'm aware, the most important and the only important thing that I can engage with is that stuff.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I thought that for a long, long time, long before I met the course. Oh,
Now there's four of us
lots of
speaking on
kisses.
that. So, Course in Miracles, there's a line in there which has never been far from my thinking, and that is from the Miracle Principle 15, and it would say, "The purpose of time is to learn how to use time constructively." How do you interpret that now, Lottie, since the diagnosis?
Well, I've never made that link before, but it's absolutely true. I keep thinking, oh, come on, I want to be in heaven. But sometimes I realize that there's a very good reason for not being there yet. and time has been used beautifully. One thing is these podcasts, which I never imagined myself being involved in, but I have been blown away by the positive feedback I've had.
Mm.
People have come back and said, oh, that really helped me. Thank you so much. Or people that I sent it to that I'd only had well, only, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to say that. I'd only had a nudge to say, okay, I'll send it to this person. And they've been the ones that have been the most effective use of time, really.
Mm,
Yeah.
fantastic. It makes me think of something as a musician is like when you write a body of songs, you're never able to predict which one is going to be the one that speaks to certain people. You might think, that song, I love track 3. That's the one. Everybody will love that. And then you'll be completely surprised. They'll come back and say it's track number 9 or something. You'll be like, wow, okay. No idea whatsoever.
Speaks to them.
Yeah.
And an example actually is yesterday, one of my beautiful granddaughters, who is not actually blood related, officially she's a step granddaughter, but she's trained to be a nurse, and she's involved with people in extremes of life.
Right.
And she said that she wanted to come and see me yesterday, and she did. And it was full of questions. I had sent her the podcast that I did previously, and she was so interested in asking lots and lots of questions. And her next job was going to be to buy a copy of the book before she got home. Yeah, she was really, really spoken to by just that nudge. Just like, we get nudges, don't we, to do things, and sometimes ego says, "Oh no, can't do that," and sometimes ego says, "Oh, well, there's no point. She wouldn't be interested." But I've ignored all of that as I've been going through this. Who might benefit or and have to trust spirit on it.
So that actual passage says each day should be devoted to miracles. The purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively. It's a teaching device and a means to an end. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. And I wanted to be.
I got to stay here a bit longer.
Yeah, I'm afraid so, unless the learning's done. And the learning might not be yours, as you've just explained. It might be the learning of your granddaughter, the passing of that baton. And then what followed on beautifully from that for me was something from the manual where it says, there is one thought in particular that should be remembered throughout the day. It's a thought of pure joy, a thought of peace, a thought of limitless release. Limitless because all things are freed within it. You think you made a place of safety for yourself. You think you made a power that can save you from all the fearful things you see in dreams. It's not so. Your safety lies not there. What you give up is merely the illusion of protecting illusions. And it's this you fear, and only this. How foolish to be so afraid of nothing. Nothing at all. Your defenses will not work, but you are not in danger. You have no need of them. Recognize this and they will disappear. And only then will you accept your real protection.
Sorry, my mind works more slowly at the moment. I blame it on morphine. But I have just reduced the morphine actually. And that has been a very positive move. So, yeah, the learning thing has been very much mine as well as for others. And I think I believe in these ripples. You throw a stone in the water and there are ripples. So it doesn't just affect that bit of water. And with Molly yesterday, I felt sure that she wouldn't just keep this all to herself. So she's another pebble in the water. And she's she will be great at that sort of thing. She's in a girls' rugby team and that sort of thing, and she has loads and loads of friends that she might well pass things on to. But that's not my affair. I threw the first pebble to her, and it will go on. I'm quite sure. And it's like that with others too. So when do we stop?
I'd like to read a couple of lines that have been present with me in the last week or so. Coupled with this verse, which is the test of truth. Whenever your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means, and so I do not know how to respond to it, and I will not use my past learning as a light to guide me now. By this refusal to attempt to teach yourself what you do not know, the guide whom God has given you will speak to you. And I feel that Lottie for me is like a living demonstration of really having practiced listening to guidance. I mean, whenever we have a conversation, she's always talking about the guidance. Then the guidance, and I feel my guidance awareness is weak. It's not well practiced, and so one of the lessons that she demonstrates to me always is bringing me back to the importance of leading, going for guidance. And there's another demonstration that I feel really captures what Lottie shows to me. Can you imagine what it means to have no cares, no worries, no anxieties, but merely to be perfectly calm and quiet all the time? Yet that is what time is for, to learn just that and nothing more. And that's from chapter 15, section 1. I'm going to have to get some more tissues now. Excuse me.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you so much. It was really beautiful reading, and thank you for those tears as well, and not fighting them and not trying to hold them back. Thanks for not trying to pretend, because that ties into what was coming up for me when Lottie was talking as well about her experience. Did you say your granddaughter's called Molly? Yeah. So people who will follow the podcast will know that there are certain themes that crop up again and again. And one of them is where I talk about truth having a frequency and what that pointing changed for me as a person when I first heard that on another podcast, when someone said, "Do you think truth has a frequency?" And it set off a firework display in my mind of just like, oh, of course, you know. And then if I think of, again, my thing with the Course in Miracles is reductionism. It's just reduce, reduce, reduce. All of those chapters, all of those workbook lessons, the whole thing just down to an unspoken application of what it's pointing to. And again, what I'll say to people is like, they'll often have heard me say, if there's a signpost that says to the beach that way, it's like, how long are you going to stand looking at the signpost going, wow, the beach is over there? It's like, oh, thank you, signpost, you know. Or at some point, you're going to perhaps leave the signpost and go to the beach. And, you know, the Course says your mission is simple. You're to live as to demonstrate that you're not an ego. And that's it. And that, does truth have a frequency? That's where that kicks in for me. Truth has a frequency. And the frequency is just the peaceful emanation that comes from us embodying the love, which is what we are. We are love. And again, to bring my lovely friend Keith Kavanagh into it, he says, everybody or everything is love, being love and knowing it's love. Or everything is love, being love and not knowing it's love. So when we are simply demonstrating what we are with the frequency of truth shining out into the world, I am the light of the world. That's all we have to do. And we just have to be ourselves. But in order for us to be ourselves, guess what we have to do? We have to remove that interference. And that's why the Course says we don't attempt to explain what the meaning of love is. That's beyond words. What we deal with is the obstacles to the awareness, to love's eternal presence. And the means is forgiveness. And forgiveness is almost aligning yourself with a passive position of observation where you are refraining from believing in the judgments that arise in your mind. And again, it's an important thing for people to realize that once they start doing the Course in Miracles or whatever system it is, and they go through the workbook and progress, judgments still arise. It's just about whether you identify with them or whether you have almost an abstract dichotomy of just going, a judgment, 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 rather than being consumed with the identity of that. So people are still going to have all sorts of experiences and wobbles, and they're going to understand, they're not going to understand, they're going to remember, they're going to forget. But once you've had the interference clearly pointed out to you and you know what it is, then you go, there's some interference. There's a block to the awareness of love's presence. Right, where was I? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was trying to demonstrate that I'm not an ego. And then whatever the experience is becomes irrelevant. Is it, am I shopping in the supermarket or am I standing in a funeral? If I'm standing in a funeral, again, another Course in Miracles or non-duality scenario that crops up is the people who want to invalidate the human experience and bring it right back to what you shared with us earlier, Sarah. Is like, people walking into a funeral going, what are you all crying for, you idiots? They're not dead. We're not even here. We were never born. Thinking that they're demonstrating the ultimate, grasp of what everything's about. And it's like, no, come on. As Ramana Maharshi said, I weep with the weeping, I sing with those who are singing, I laugh with those who are laughing. You don't remove yourself from that. You get involved with it, and that's part of the demonstration, that's part of the teaching. But again, to bring it back to the Jesus references, be in this world, but not of this world. And of course, is very clear on that. Jesus is a symbol of a love that is beyond this world. This is a man who saw the face of Christ on all of his brothers and refused to not look at that identity and to see what was happening in the world of form. And by doing so, to such a degree, he called down the connection with the Holy Spirit to that strength, so that the one mind that we all share, that Jesus shared before he merged into the Christ mindedness, is a reflection of who we are here, either knowing we love or not knowing we love.
And in addition to that,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing of love, which is greater than any love we've ever experienced here.
Well, I'm very glad that you said that, because when you and I were having a phone call about a week or so ago, you had an experience, didn't you, on during the call of feeling tearful, and then asking what were those tears pointing to, and then the experience you had was the greatest sense of love that you'd had.
Quite undescribable. Yeah. Yes, it was just, it was almost, if I tried to see it, it was a body, but it was totally surrounded by something which spoke to me of love. And I think that was my body surrounded by love. Mm. But as I say, it's not something you can pass on. You have to experience it for yourself.
No, but it's nice of you to attempt to use words to point to the transconceptual.
Yeah.
And I tell you what else was very powerful from that conversation that you and I had. And it was something I shared with Andreas, because he put the UK festival on with Kieran J. And boy, did that man apply himself. What a beautiful, beautiful guy. You know, oh my God, such a joy to know him. And you said that you had your experience of, I think I made a note of it because the wording was powerful to me. The understanding of joining that you had because of the ACIM festival in Derbyshire. And I left Andreas a voice note in his WhatsApp just to say, I feel like you shouldn't hear this, even though it was an indirect reference to what you'd said to me, because I wanted him to know just how powerful the effects of what he brought to the table were. But I wonder if what that brings back to you now, Lottie, about that. You said you'd never understood joining to that degree.
I hadn't. And I've done whole workshops on joining, attended workshops on joining, but somehow that festival really did it for me. There was such a joining there, and a belonging for me. Yes.
Sarah, what can you echo of that? Because I know you and I spent quite a few bits of time together at the festival, and that's created the foundation for our ongoing relationship as well. What was the joining like for you?
It was like being at home.
Hmm.
Home in the sense that it just felt like really people were just genuinely welcoming, opening. And I heard it said somewhere, maybe over the meal time, that it's wonderful to be in a place where you, or with people where you feel they are genuinely, authentically practicing non-judgment and seeing the light. Of course, facilitated by the practices in the sessions. One session that really was very strong for me was the Saturday evening, where there was the singing to one other, you are worthy, I
Mm.
am worthy.
Mm.
It was just really quite, well, very moving.
That was
But just,
astonishing.
yeah, but the whole experience of being with a group of people practicing, actively practicing the
Mm.
truth was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jim is who you're referring to. I remember Jim from the Miracle Network saying, there's been no judgments for 4 days. Everyone's just been loving. I was just like, gosh, and to be honest, Kieran J and I have spoken about this a couple of times since, because she emphasized it on her closing talk on the day. It was like, don't just leave this feeling here and go off, let it dissolve, take it with you. And it's like, to be fair, I don't think I've really lost that feeling since the festival. It sort of tuned that dial to such a degree. I was just like, wow. And it's pretty much stayed with me. And it certainly had an effect. I hadn't had a break from work for a couple of years due to all sorts of difficulties that have been going on with bereavement and family issues. And I hadn't realized just how depleted I was, and how, if I walked into a scenario that presented itself as going to be more challenging than I'd initially thought, then even before I got going, I was like, oh man, and I came back from the festival and just walked back into work scenarios, just like, okay, so I just need to do that, and that. Well, I'll do that first, then that. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh, wow, okay, that was easy, and I wasn't even really the doer. It's all of that, those principles of like, there's no doer, just the doing. But that was all from the festival. And just the joining, and I know, Lottie, I know you and I have met on Miracle Network, or we've been on the same Miracle Network events, and how powerful are their meditations?
Mm.
This is part of my life now. I attend the Miracle Network meditation on a Wednesday morning and the Sunday study group on a Sunday morning. There's a two fixed points. Yes, you can come, but don't come between 9 and 10 on the Sunday.
Oh, if you do, then you'll be ignoring them. I seem to remember you had family decided to come at that time.
Amazing. Sit in the car for an hour, I'll be with you. But it's very powerful because it's online as well, and people are all, some people are in Spain and some people are in this part of the country, and it's like, but there's a very, very strong experience of the joining.
Yes.
Until Teresa pings her little bell.
Yes.
I'm going to go back.
Something I'd like to.
Yeah, please.
It's been fizzing around in my mind for quite a while. This what we're doing today. For quite a while in my miracle studies, I've been aware of specialness. And it's not something I crave, but I have realized it's come in spades, the realization of how much I've wanted specialness in the past. As a child, as a teenager, as a wife, all of that. I wanted it so much. As a client when having counselling, I wanted to be the best client he'd ever had. I wanted him to thank me for being his client. I wanted to be special. And it's now become, it's really flipped over, where I feel almost insulted when people say you're very special. And so I'm still looking for the best path through this. There must be a better way than feeling insulted.
Well, there's four words in the course, and for the last couple of years, I've always put an emphasis on these, and it is you are not special. It's a four-word sentence. And the reason I highlight that is because the voice that Helen heard, even though we're going to use that word loosely, there's a voice outside the dream. You know, we all get that sense when we read A Course in Miracles. I articulate it in a way where I go, where it said to me, this isn't from round here. You know, that was the feeling that I had, is like, what is this? This information, this isn't from round here, you know. So this voice that Helen dialed into outside of the dreaming mind was a voice of frequency of truth and of pure love and kindness, incapable of manifesting a illusory energy of anything other than truth and kindness. And this voice of pure loving kindness says, you are not special. And I ask people to think about the spectrum of emotion between kindness, agitation, viciousness, and extreme anger, and all of those divisions on that sort of, you could imagine a 180-degree kind of sort of dial where the needle could sit at all these different points, and say to look at someone and say, you know, if someone said, you're not special, you're not special, you're not special, all of these different ways with pure negativity, illusory energy, where someone could apply those four words to the point where none of those exist, but there's just one place of just pure love where someone looks in your eyes and goes, you're not special. And they're not being horrible to you, they're not being unkind, they're actually giving you the gift, the most beautiful gift of truth. You're not special.
All equally loved. Yes.
Yeah.
That's where it lands with me. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're all children of God, all his creation. And we are all on a level. Nothing, no one sticks out anywhere. No, not special.
Yeah, I think the distinction is not special, but we're all valued, we're all loved
Equally.
So, like, special meaning you are different from other people. Special meaning separation from others, distinction.
Yeah.
So it's like a relief.
That's
it's a relief.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Well, that fits in with the quote that I had here, which is, there's no substitute for the will of God. In simple statement, it is to this fact that the teacher of God devotes his day. Only the love of God will protect you in all circumstances. It will lift you out of every trial and raise you high above all the perceived dangers of this world into a climate of perfect peace and safety. It will transport you into a state of mind that nothing can threaten, nothing can disturb, and where nothing can intrude upon the eternal calm of the Son of God. There's no time, no place, no state where God is absent. There is no way in which a gap could be conceived in the wholeness that is His.
I don't know whether I expect you all have this, that when you look back over life, and it's not to be really recommended in course terms, but the building bricks for where I am now astonish me, all the little bits of experience that have come into being part of my understanding, part of my way of life. And it's just flown. we're talking about going with the flow, and I can see it all now. Yeah.
So you're happy with your label of being a teacher of God now, Lottie?
Well, yes, I am, because people learn from me, but I haven't gone out there, applied for the job and got it. and there has been that sense of I'm not worthy, but it just happens. It's part of the flow, isn't it?
Mm.
Mm.
And Sarah, you're grateful for your teacher of God friend,
I
as you've
am
said.
indeed, very much so. Yeah, yeah. Remembering also from the manual, it's when you recognise that you have shared interests.
Yeah.
And that is really the foundation for our friendship, is that shared interest in our learning. Yes.
Mm.
Mm.
Unlearning,
Unlearning indeed.
removing the
Yeah,
interference,
yeah.
and mirroring. Essentially, it's a really important,
Mm. Mm.
a really important aspect of relationship is just the mirroring. It's like being able to reflect upon something and then share it with somebody who mirrors back either the same or a slightly different understanding to help get a larger, clearer view of the truth. Thoughts increase in strength when minds are joined.
Mm. Isn't that beautiful?
Mm.
Mm.
And then look at what you were saying earlier, Lottie. It's like your granddaughter. I'm thinking of like probably from the miracle principles as well, about the far-reaching effects of a miracle and how you could possibly never know just how far those ripples travel. And it tells us as well, if you actually tried to consciously guide a miracle, it's like no. That won't do. That won't go anywhere. Won't even get off the ground. Whereas if you don't, and you just express the love that you are, without wanting to be special, without wanting to decide where it's going to go and how it's going to present itself, you share a podcast with your granddaughter, who then wants to buy a course in miracles prior to becoming a nurse and being involved in all of these other social arrangements with other young receptive minds. And who knows, we just don't know.
She actually became a nurse, decided to become a nurse during COVID, and she has now qualified and has been working as a nurse for 2 years.
Oh wow.
And she was telling me little things, little bits of human kindness. She said, "Oh, one of my patients really likes a Coca-Cola with her breakfast. Pick one up as I go into the hospital." That sort of thing, little tiny things that she's already doing. She's already on the course.
Amazing. She's already a master of the course if she's doing that.
Mm. At the end of our day together, she said how much she'd enjoyed the conversations we'd had. And I said, "I haven't been pushing it, have I?" And she said, "No, no, not at all. Just flowed."
it's funny because I've got a couple of questions in mind, but I can almost feel them sort of collapsing in on themselves, prior to even asking them something, and like the irrelevance of like how you could apply it, because I can already feel it, like Sarah knows, and like everybody knows who's already been graced with your company or your sharing online is something as simple as like how do you think your spiritual practice has benefited you in this situation? But you'd almost have to imagine yourself having not lived the life that you've lived, and at the point to the answer is almost like you'd have to imagine a parallel reality that's never existed to answer that, because you are showing us through the calmness, and that's a word that Sarah sort of emphasized earlier, the calmness, and how beautiful that brought tears, because it's a thing of sheer beauty to be that calm.
And it's not a pretense.
No, I can tell.
It's something
Truth
that,
has got a frequency and we can feel it.
something that's evolved over time. Yeah.
So why
Was
don't you talk to us about guidance then, Lottie? Because Sarah again pointed towards that as being one of your strengths as a teacher, and I know through our correspondence that whenever the G word has come up, you've been like, "Oh yeah, if it's guidance, listen, lean in, follow that." So I feel like that is something that you can definitely add strength to in people's understanding.
I think it goes back to that last lesson of the course. And I find myself, especially now, when I've got morphine fuddling my brain half the time, which is if I need a word to help me, you'll give it to me. And there I am needing a word. And that it happens. I just am reminded in my mind of, if I need a word, you'll give it to me. Okay, I need a word. There it is. And there it is. It's the right word, and it's not a word I've manufactured. And if I need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, basically I have that, but I think that's been given. I believe that's been given, and I rely on it. Yes, that lesson has been pivotal for me, that I can totally rely on spirit.
Do you think the frequency of that truth, as experienced as Lottie's calmness, is what you found so moving, Sarah, when you were? Is that part of like what brought the tears? Just
Yeah,
because when she
yes,
says that, we know it's true. We can feel it,
mm,
don't we?
yes. I think that is, it is very moving to be in that situation of just following the last few months with Lottie, and yeah, that consistent calmness,
Mm,
sort of pragmatic, but in a very gentle way.
mm.
Not kind of, oh well, that's life, that stuff happens, but
Yeah.
just more than that, actually embracing it and being joyful about it really is really quite extraordinary. Yeah,
And maybe you
taught me a
saying
lot.
it, you articulating it like that helps with the question that I felt was collapsing in on itself, because the actual alternative to Lottie's demonstration is the person who is completely lost in their worldly identity, who are going through a roller coaster of emotions on a minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day basis. And then the people around them are feeling all of that energy, and they're not getting time to do any processing as such while the person's still here, because all of that energy that's been given out that they have to connect with, and in order to not invalidate the person who's experiencing the end of life
Yeah.
diagnosis.
I I imagine imagine it's been very helpful for the family, you know, so family are not having to sort of tiptoe around and having to worry about how they're responding, because they have this, you know, have the demonstration that it's okay, it's all okay, and everything is as it's meant to be, and this is, you know, we will let all things be exactly as they are. You know, today I will judge nothing that occurs. You know, it's like an extreme example for people. Very helpful. Thank you, Lottie.
And if mind is the true element of what we are and what we're experiencing, and it's the body that's a thought which we believe we've surrounded a part of our minds with, then the demonstration of this thought of calmness and acceptance and passive observation of what's happening, the thought won't go anywhere. The thought's the ripple, the thought's the miracle that reaches around the world a million times without us knowing it. And it doesn't require the body. Once the body's been used to bring that thought to the table as such, the thought outlives the body. The thought then, from Lottie's family, the thought carries on in Molly's mind, and that goes to a million people that we don't know about, that we'll never meet.
And she's not the only granddaughter who feels like that. It's marvellous, really, that it's the next generation that is picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't think I would exclude the present generation, but it's just beautiful to me. And I said to Kieran J, because I felt she would be the one telling people, but it's more than that, isn't it? Now, when the time comes, let there be rejoicing.
Yeah, I found that very moving when you said that to her. The interview, Kieran J, I said to her, you know, 100% gratitude and respect for how beautiful she facilitated that conversation. Really lovely.
We know each other quite well now.
And let there be rejoicing. Do you guys feel like you've got anything else that's bubbling around in your minds that I'm not thinking about that we'd like to address while we're here?
Just one thing, I'm conscious of the time, but
yeah,
I think it'd be interesting just if you can relay the story about when you first got the diagnosis in the hospital, and they said you're not shocked or something. Remember that little scene?
Yes, I do remember well. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I'd gone to the A&E department because I'd been diagnosed with a back condition, which seemed slightly alarming, but it wasn't too bothersome. And the pain had increased enormously. And I think that pain was a gift, because it took me back to the A&E department, and they did another MRI scan and compared it with a previous one where cancer wasn't even on the cards, not even anywhere near my thinking. And I was taken into a little room to talk to a neurosurgeon, and she said, well, she said, there is something else we've found. And she said, don't get alarmed about it, because it's not necessarily what we might think it would be at first glance. But we have found tumours all down your spine. I said, what can I see? So she showed me, took me into another room and showed me the picture on screen. And yeah, there was like these table tennis balls all down my spine. So she said, we're going to put you in the hands of the oncology department. But she said, it doesn't necessarily mean it's cancer. And then after a little pause, she said, I expect that's a shock to you. And I said, well, no, actually. I said, I'm hugely surprised. Never thought of cancer, never crossed my mind. But I'm not shocked.
Is it all really?
Mm.
Mm. It's like that's the response. It's sort of, oh, that's interesting. It demonstrates that I will, accept all things exactly as they are.
Absolutely.
Rather than saying, oh, that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible with the judgment. It's like, oh, okay. Oh, I'd like to see the pictures.
Yes. And when the palliative care nurse came later on, she said, people don't usually react like this. What's different?
You can share this video and get more insight. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is actually one of the reasons why you and I began to think about having some sort of interview like this on record, because it's such a wonderful teaching demonstration. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being willing to share on video and recording it for people. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, it to be truly helpful.
Well said.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to read a couple of pieces to finish. One piece which spoke to me when I was leaning into the thought of us joining. And then the last piece is Lottie's interpretation of the final lessons from the course. Oh, my brothers, if you only knew the peace that will envelop you and hold you safe and pure and lovely in the mind of God, you could but rush to meet him where his altar is. Hallowed your name and his, for they are joined here in this holy place. Here he leans down to lift you up to him, out of illusions into holiness, out of the world and to eternity, out of all fear and given back to love. And if I need a word to help me, you will give it to me. If I need a thought, that will you also give. And if I need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, these are the gifts I will receive of you. You will hear and answer me because you speak for God, my Father, and his Holy Son. So, Lottie, thank you so much for reminding me and Sarah and everybody who's going to watch this, everybody who's not going to watch this, that we don't need to be afraid, because it's something that I struggled with for many, many years. It's not a thought that has evaporated into the nothingness from which it came, but like I said earlier, it's a thought that I can see arise, recognize it for what it is, and not identify with it. But through your calmness, you are demonstrating the absence of fear in a scenario that is the most terrifying for most people who are very much in this world, and they don't realize that they're not of this world. If there's no degrees, it's the same lesson that Jesus taught with his life. You can go through the worst of what the world throws at you and remember what's true, where you're really from, what reality really means. And that frequency that you are demonstrating with your calmness, and the fact that we can feel that you are authentic and genuine, is yeah, I'm going to use the word powerful, but it's just a signpost. It's so powerful. And your friendship, the two of you, the relationship, to be invited into partake in that is absolutely fantastic, and a real honor and a joy for me, and it will be for everyone else. Sarah, your contribution's been absolutely wonderful and essential to the dynamic of this interaction. So thank you for making yourself available, and thank you for the initial invitation as well. Asking me whether it would be something that I would feel that I could handle and give the correct intention and light to, and for giving me the opportunity to speak to you both in this context, and to sun in the beautiful benefits of that.
Thank you, Leon. Lovely.
Thank
Really
you
wonderful.
both for being co-teachers.
Thank you. Yeah.